thanks to ODI to bring us together, and thanks to the authors to have produced a pamphlet. I must say I wouldn't have expected anything else of them because I know them since many years, and they tend to be outraged and generate productive ideas. So many things. I can agree with so many things that you say in the report. But since I'm also outraged and quite impatient, I hope it is only the first pamphlet. And so I thought I leave some ideas and questions that I had in my mind when reading the text, so that pamphlet number 2, Step In, or whatever the title could be, could emerge pretty soon. My first question is, to whom do we address ourselves? Whom do we expect to act? Because, to be a little personal, my deepest disappointment in life, and I think I have mainly only this one, is that I was really sort of following the standard textbooks, economics textbooks. Markets fail, and then we can turn to the state, and the state steps in with corrective action. By now we say has the potential to step in. But when we analyze carefully the years that led to the 2008 financial crisis, if we look at what happens in the area of climate change, where time is running out, who is failing? And I have watched them for 30 years in the UN. I must say, states are failing too, and massively. And when I say states are failing, I don't mean the type of failure that public choice theorists tend to refer to. No. Especially when it comes to global issues, and I was glad to hear your intervention, because you made the point much clearer than it is in the booklet. When it comes to global issues, you can see in the UN that everybody says, hurrah, yeah, let's have poverty by 2015, let's stabilize the climate, and then we lean back. You look at any UN resolution, it comes without financial statement attached, because we just express some preferences, and when action comes, the collective action problem emerges. So we actually are caught in a policy trap that results from dual actor failure. States fail and markets fail. And when I read Jamie Galbraith's testimony to Congress about how the crisis in the US emerged, I get the impression that state failure preceded or greatly facilitated market failure. So where does this leave us? You know, why do we assume in some of the pages of the booklet that the state of today, wherever it is a different state from 2007? Has the crisis been serious enough to tell them now, oh yeah, I better go with what Stephanie says, you know? Or my response would be, a challenge to it for further study and thinking, is that we are facing a systemic issue. Because states have punched open national borders, removed trade barriers, capital controls, and now they say, oops, you know, we don't want to live with the consequences. The consequence would be international cooperation. But today we see a sovereignty paradox. I have invented that term. At least I think. I don't know whether somebody else did it. And the sovereignty did it also. The sovereignty paradox is the following. Ms. Merkel thinks that she retains her sovereignty by not cooperating, and the same applies for Obama and all the others. But by not cooperating and not entering into global regulation, you are being tossed around by the angry seas of unregulated markets or continuous emission problems. So if we want to see change, we have to ask ourselves, how do we deal with this dual actor failure? And I would even go so far to say that international cooperation is a political market. We often look at it through the state lens, but basically when states appear internationally, they are private actors and they trade with each other. And the most unregulated market, in my view, is international cooperation. We have to deal with this. My second question can be briefer because it builds on the first point, is the pamphlet asks for employment guarantees. Now, could this have a boomerang effect that the industrial countries try to deliver, should somebody pick up this idea, try to deliver on this, and then we hear what we now already hear in the US, bring the jobs back, Danny Roderick, selective retreat from globalization. It could be very dangerous. Therefore, should we not, when we think even about all these good public policy ideas today, think globally? How is it possible that the world, the rest, as we sometimes refer to the majority out there, how the world develops, and we may retain a certain living standard too? What is the emerging global division of labor? Where is our advantage in the future? Where do we invest? Where do we get our jobs from? How do we organize? Is there really enough employment to continue working until 80 or 70? See, we are all still here. Let me, to be brief, come to the missing topic. I agree. I also had this on my list. My last point, Alison asked me to comment on how this all relates to the MDGs and to development. Now there, I must say, if there is a second disappointment I have in life, then it is the following, that the donor countries, the conventional powers, are holding on and are not prepared to get out of the way. Yeah. It is one thing to say, I give you a little aid, it's keep quiet, I give you a little aid. But would be quite a different policy approach to think through how we can get out of the way. And that relates to the global division of labor point that I made before. So I think also in Frances' articles I see that she remembers Polanyi. So my big hope is that we have a swing back to genuine country programming. I see the value, as Richard has often pointed out, of targets and goals and things, but linked to genuine country programming, because I think the time has now come that we add really respect for country sovereignty to the formal sovereignty we have granted them in the earlier years of the UN. So, but thanks very much. It's a good beginning, and please, let's have a second little pamphlet.
Thank you very much indeed.